just starting the Bridgeport region. No shade to the Bridgeport region. I think it's going to be lovely basketball all around, but we are going to have to motor through it. So NC State, moving on. NC State over Longwood, Mount St. Mary's. Thank you guys for coming. NC State moving on. Washington State, Kansas State. This is going to be interesting. I'm going with Ayoka Lee and Kansas State. I just think she's the best player on the court, and we'll go with her.
Yeah, that's what I put too. I had Kansas State in that slot.
All right, cool. Moving on. We're going to Notre Dame, UMass. Here's this is my 5-12. I don't have any of the other 5-12s. Oh, I guess we do with FGCU now. So maybe we can disagree here, but I have UMass over Notre Dame. UMass has been loved by the net ratings. They're a good team. They just won their conference over a really good team in Dayton. I think Notre Dame has been struggling a little bit lately, including their last loss against the University of Miami. So I do, while I love Olivia Miles, I'm going here with UMass.
I'm going Notre Dame, man. I just think, I think they have the tools to beat them.
Okay.
And the balance and the depth.
All right. We're going to decide this one via who has scored more points in the ACC. That would be Christy Winters Scott. Or actually, it was just Christy Winters back then.
Back in the day, it was just
So
two names.
Christy Winters gets on the fact that she has scored a number of ACC baskets, and I have scored 0. So moving on, we're going to Oklahoma. IUPUI, Ooey Pooey. I have gotten confirmation that they call themselves Ooey Pooey, so it's fine for us to call them Ooey Pooey.
Yeah, we're doing Ooey Pooey.
Ooey Pooey is a good team.
Ooey
Pooey deserves credit. The Jaguars of Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis. I believe that is the full name of the school.
That's it.
They can certainly turn it upside here. Oklahoma is a team that shoots threes. They really rely on the three. So if those aren't falling, there's a good chance that IUPUI can win. I'm going with Oklahoma though.
I'm going with Oklahoma for sure, but Ooey Pooey beat Iowa earlier this year. We're talking about early wins earlier in our conversation. But I don't think they have enough to stop what Oklahoma is going to bring them. Defensively, I think it's going to be an issue for them.
No, I think Oklahoma is going to be really amped up for that game at home too. All right, let's keep it motoring. Kentucky, Princeton, perhaps the most interesting first round matchup out. Well, I'd say that Virginia Tech FGCU one is. This one's the second most interesting one. And Kentucky and Princeton. Princeton is very good. They just won the Ivy League, and Kentucky obviously went on the magical run in the SEC tournament. So I guess it's a matter of, do you think this Kentucky team is the team we've seen in the last 10 games, or are we going to take the rest of the season more so as an indication of who they are?
I mean, I think they're riding the wave right now. Okay. And it's tough to stop it. I mean, if you've ever been just kind of wading in the beach water and you turn around, there's a 10-foot wave over your head. That's Kentucky. Boom. I just think that's just how they're going to go into this tournament, I think, with a ton of confidence. And I don't care what X's and O's you have on the whiteboard in your timeouts or in, your pregame talk. Confidence is a huge factor when you're talking about advancing in the NCAA tournament. And I think Kentucky has that. So I'm going with them.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll change. I have Princeton. And honestly, I think Princeton, I think Princeton's a better team. I'll say that. I think Princeton's a better team. I think Kentucky has the momentum. I think they have the best player on the court, and they will have the best player on the court throughout the tournament for the most part. So I'll switch to Kentucky. They are really good. They're well coached. They're a good team. I think Princeton, it's just not a good matchup because they actually do switch a fair amount. I was watching them play FGCU, and they played them really well. I just think Ryan Howard, this is one of those games where she's not going to have to take over as much as she's just going to have to wait for her opportunities to shoot. So I think it favors Kentucky. So I'm going Kentucky, and everyone else has the Princeton upset. So I'll just go Kentucky to be a little different.
Interesting.
Let's talk about one of our other favorite, a courtside favorite, Indiana against Charlotte. I'm going with the Hoosiers.
I love Kara Consuegra. That is my home girl, and she's a toughie, and she has coached her butt off always, but in particular this season, I'm going with Indiana. I mean, they're a juggernaut defensively. I just don't know if they're going to be able to play the way they want to play against the Hoosiers. I agree.
All right. UCF, Florida. All right. I do love the matchups with the local teams. I do wish we kind of separated out the Florida schools altogether. But regardless, we have UCF and Florida. UCF won the AAC for the first time. Actually, did they win it last year? I don't know. Regardless, UCF's a really good team. Florida made a late surge this year. I'm going with UCF though.
I had UCF.
Okay.
I just think they've had a more consistent season, and I think their momentum coming into the tournament is strong. So I'm going with them.
Yeah, no, I think, wow, UCF holds, this is from our newsletter as well, which this is just really interesting. UCF holds opponents to just 0.62 points per play that end in a shot, free throw, trip, or a turnover. That is the best in the country this season and the third lowest since 2016-17 behind the 2019-20 Baylor Bears and the 2020-21 Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks.
Well, all right.
So there we go. That's so I think that's a good reason to pick them. All right, UConn Mercer. Hey Mercer, if y'all want to shock the world, now's the time. This would be fantastic. I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm picking UConn.
UConn.
Okay. Moving on to the second round. So these are all still in the home arenas of the higher ranked teams, and we've gone chalk here. So these are all the higher teams are going to coast. All right. So we got NC State versus Kansas State. I like Kansas State. I think they're pretty good. I think Ayoka Lee is nice. I think Elisa Cunane can match up with her straight up, and I think the rest of NC State is much better than the rest of Kansas State. So I'm going Wolfpack.
I'm going Wolfpack too. Even with Cunane suffering an ankle injury in the ACC tournament, I think they've had ample time to get her healed up and taped up and ready to compete. I think that's going to be a really fun matchup to watch, but I'm going with NC State too.
All righty, moving on. Notre Dame, Oklahoma. This will be played where the winds are sweeping down the plains in Norman. This is tough. This one is really tough. I had Oklahoma when they were playing UMass. I honestly picked an upset here just so I didn't have to pick this game because I don't know which way to go. I think Oklahoma is very talented. I think they shoot the ball better than anyone in the country. I think Taylor Robinson is one of the best shooters we've seen in college basketball. That being said, I just think Notre Dame's really good. I like the team. I think they're beatable, but when they're going well, there's not a lot of teams that can match up with them talent wise. I think Olivia Miles is a genius at time. Well, a young genius. Like she needs to hone her skills a little bit, but I don't know. I love them. I really like the Notre Dame team if they're humming, and assuming they beat UMass, they'll be humming. So I'm going Notre Dame. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going Notre Dame too. Just for the reasons I said before, with their balance, I think, and confidence moving into this tournament.
Also, we get a rematch here, which I know you like. NC State, Notre Dame.
I love rematches. Yeah,
and
I love rematches.
Notre Dame was, I think, the only team to beat. I'm gonna double check this before I say it. The only team to beat the Wolfpack, and they only have one loss. It was to Notre Dame. So the only team to beat NC State in conference play was Notre Dame.
And that sits with you. I'm telling you. I mean, rematches are great. Sometimes you have to lose in order to win. Because you have to shore up and fix the holes in the boat, as I like to say. But I love a good rematch. Yeah. I mean, there's so much involved, in terms of your pride and your focus. I think that's always intriguing and compelling to watch. So, yeah, I love it.
We got Kentucky at Indiana, traditional tournament rivalry on the men's side, coming over. This is a toughie.
This is a toughie.
Do you want to give let me hear your take here first.
Okay. Did they play? I keep getting my years mixed up. Okay. I know they played last season. Did they play in the Bahamas or somewhere? Did they play in November?
I don't think they played each other.
That was last year then. Last year they played them. And Kentucky won that game.
Oh no, they did play Kentucky this year.
See, okay, good. Okay, I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, so it wasn't in the Bahamas. It was in Indiana, which this game will again be in Indiana. And Kentucky lost by 21.
Okay.
That being said, this is like as new a team as you could possibly have. Like I like that we have a head-to-head matchup. I don't think you could take anything from where Kentucky was there, but
Right.
Who you got?
I'm going to go with Indiana. I know, we've factored in health with a lot of other players throughout this bracket. Mackenzie Holmes is not excluded from this. I think even in the championship game, she did not look 100% to me in terms of her stamina and cardio. Yes, she was able to play well against Maryland. I believe she had 17 and 9 in that game, in the quarterfinal game where they beat Maryland at the Big Ten tournament. But I think they're going to need Mackenzie Holmes and her presence on 1,000 in this game. And yes, it's a totally different Kentucky team from November, but it's also a different team if Mackenzie Holmes isn't healthy for Indiana at this point. But I think because they're playing in Indiana and because they have everybody back, and because Allie Patberg says 2 days after they went on their Elite Eight run last year, can I come back? Mm-hmm. She's hungry for that next step. And I don't think it's going to be an easy fight. That's not going to be an easy win because of how well Kentucky's playing. But with all those factors of experience, location, and hunger, I'm going with Indiana.
All right. Then I have Indiana as well. We'll move down to UCF and UConn. UCF's going to be hungry in that game after years of getting beaten up by UConn. I still think at home, certainly, UConn's moving on. UConn. Okay. All right. So that's the end of our first 2 rounds preview. Go down to the Bridgeport region. NC State, Notre Dame. NC State, Notre Dame is the first Elite Eight matchup, or I'm sorry, Sweet 16 matchup in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm going with the Wolfpack. I don't think they lose again to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm going with NC State on that too. I just think, again, when you're matched up with a team that has beaten you, you have the advantage in that contest. So I think NC State has the advantage, and I think they'll win it.
I agree. So you can move past Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's a lovely team. Very fun to watch. Moving down to the bottom of the bracket. This is where things are going to get contentious. So UConn against Indiana. UConn is basically home, which we brought up earlier. And I want to get your thoughts here on UConn essentially playing at home as the 2 seed in the Bridgeport region.
Here we go.
So on one hand, this may have just been how the bracket turned out. It's not. The Bridgeport region is there for UConn, so they were going to Bridgeport. That being said, I do think it is an unfair advantage for the 1 seed in particular, NC State, to have to go play a 2 seed at home. You had to do this, as we reminded people, when you had to go play in Texas as the 1 seed, and Texas was the 2 seed, and you guys won. Yeah. But still. So I wanted to get your thoughts.
Still, and sometimes it's not the situation, it's the principle, right? Yeah. It's like you fight all season and work your butt off to get a 1 seed, and then you don't even get to play at home or in your region home area. And I'm not, the NCAA is what it is, and they made the decision based on what they felt was best business-wise. Yeah. In terms of butts and seats, but the way that things are going, I mean, they can get butts and seats in Raleigh. I think. Right? Am I wrong on that?
Here's another thing. No, of course you are. If you're right. We picked these way.
I'm not trying to.
But I'm with you. I just think it's wrong that NC State went all through this, and now their reward for being a 1 seed will be essentially playing an away game against UConn. If UConn wins this game against Indiana, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about this game with Indiana, because I'm going to be honest. I think Indiana is going to win this game. You want to talk about a team that would be ready and revved up to play against UConn in Connecticut? Talk about those seniors at Indiana who want this moment. If they are healthy, if Mackenzie Holmes is healthy, I'm just going to assume it because I want it to be true.
Yes.
Indiana, we were talking about them as a 1 seed for most of the year, until that injury.
Yeah.
I think they match up really well with UConn too. I think they have the size, they have the depth, they have the guard play, they have everything you want, and they're tough as nails. And I just think Indiana's going to win that game. Really do.
I think Mackenzie Holmes' health has to be close to 100% as possible.
Yep.
But I also know that they're hungry, as we've said earlier about Indiana. But I don't know if Coach Weller, my coach at Maryland, I don't know if she told us. I told you I didn't even know we were a 1 seed. We were just like, hey, where are we playing next? What time's the game? Where are my shoes at? That's where we were. I think for this Indiana team, though, however, and any other team going to Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be an extra log on the fire when it comes to the competitiveness of that game, and feeling slighted and feeling like, well, here we are, why are we up here? And there are all those other factors that go into it. But I think for me, I think it's the run it back factor that Indiana has with all 5 starters. I think it's Nicole Cardano Hillary being on 10,000 with her defensive motor and offensive motor for that matter. I mean, she is such a killer when it comes to presence of mind on the defensive end and just being crafty on that side of the court. But Allie Patberg, and I just think Grace Berger is another player we don't talk about enough nationally, and her abilities to be consistent. I mean, she's had 3 triple doubles in her career. She has the ability to really be an X factor. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the run it back factor that Indiana is going to this postseason with, and that's going to be the difference maker. And I think they could beat anybody.
I think it'd beat anybody
when they have that mentality, but also have the 95+% healthy Mackenzie Holmes too.
Yeah,
she's got to be ready to go.
That's our if. But I think if that if is true,
big minutes.
That if is true, I think they beat UConn. I think they're, and it'll also depend on Paige, right? We absolutely have to mention Paige's health.
Talk about that
because that's it. Because we saw Mackenzie Holmes play, and she looked pretty good. She was able to get how many minutes did she play in that championship game? She played a hefty load.
It was a ton of minutes, but she also played a ton of minutes in that Maryland game. Yeah. And throughout, I don't think she was on a minutes restriction during the tournament.
No, she played 30 minutes against Iowa in the championship game. Whereas for UConn, and UConn situation is a little bit different with the Big East tournament. Paige, I think, only played like 8 minutes in that championship game. I don't know if Paige is fully healthy. Well, and we might be back to Death Star UConn. I just don't think she's fully healthy, and I'm not sure if she's going to get there. And I think there's advantages here for Indiana, and and you look at Mackenzie Holmes versus Olivia Nelson Adota, take Mackenzie Holmes. Grace Berger against Kristen Williams, or whoever he wants, or Nicole Cardano Hillary against Kristen Williams. Hey, it may be a little bit of a mismatch, but ain't no one out toughing Nicole Cardano Hillary. I think their guards match up super well. I just see it. So maybe this is wishful thinking, but I think Indiana's damn good. I don't think this is me being too overly optimistic.
No, I think it could happen for sure. And I think, with a team like UConn, they're about 4 or 5 points better with Paige on the floor. They shoot it a little bit better from the floor when she is present with them. But like you said, 8 minutes in a game, and I know they're probably being very, very cautious with her in terms of those minutes that she had in the Big East tournament. But I also know that she was averaging nearly 22 points per game. And since her return, 6 points a game.
Yeah.
So, but the team is better with her on the floor, no question about it. But are you helping or hurting the team more by not being 100%?
Yeah.
In terms of your physical health. And I think that is a factor for both Holmes and Beckers. I mean, both of them have to be as close to 100% as possible. And I think with this big gap in between conference tournaments and the first round of the games in the NCAA tournament, I think that's a benefit for both of those players in terms of their health. So we'll see as the tournament unfolds what that looks like, after a couple of games. How are we doing? And not just statistically, but what does your gait look like? What does your cardio look like? What does your explosiveness look like? And what does your rhythm with the team look like too? Because that's all factored in as well. It's not just how high you're jumping or how fast you're running. It's also the timing on both sides. Like your defensive timing, everyone talks about it's the offensive rhythm and how, the continuity of your offense looks. it's also on defense too. You got to be able to communicate and rotate, and that's going to be a factor as well for both.
I agree, but we're going Indiana in part because.
Yeah, we can go Indiana. I'm all for that.
All right, we're going to the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight. The Elite Eight here.
Okay.
NC State versus Indiana in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Man,
I don't know.
I got to tie my hair back on that one, Gabe, because I got my neck hot on that one.
So I picked Indiana because we already had 3 1 seeds. I did.
Okay.
That being said,
okay.
I don't know. This is so tough. This is a great matchup. This is a great
matchup. It is really,
matchup.
really good. Top to bottom, right?
Yeah. They just met. They're such similar teams with similar stories, and like they all came back, and they're all talented and experienced and well coached, and they run through a great big. And oh my God, I don't. I'm all right. I'm gonna go with NC State. I just like sitting here thinking about it now, without the idea of the other 1 season, ignoring the rest of my bracket.
Okay.
I'm going with NC State because I think Kunane and home, like it's the same thing that I was talking about with UConn. It's like if you look up and down, how are you matching up? I think a lot of things cancel out. I think NC State has some better depth and some more people to throw in. I think that's going to contribute to them being able to use their conditioning and use that depth to maintain their stamina late in this game when it's going to be close. And let me check on everyone's free throw percentage, which is something that I'm always looking at because you got to hit your free throws here in March. I mean, Indiana's at 75%, 63rd in the nation. That's pretty good. Let's look at NC State. NC State's 75.6%. It's 43rd in the nation. So there's no difference there. I just think NC State has a little bit more juice. I think they're a better team. I think Kudane's just a little bit better than Holmes. I think, at every little spot, right? Yeah, Nicole Cardano-Hillary versus Reina Perez, just like the mid-major darlings, and my Twitter feed is going to go crazy if that happens. I have to go with NC State. I just think they're so good and they're so together and they have so much chemistry. And I think the same can be said about Indiana. I just think NC State's players are like this much better. This much better.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And I know Indiana can apply that defensive pressure.
Yeah.
And I know they have that. They want to take that next step from Elite Eight to go to the Final Four and beyond. And there's something to be said for that. That's not statistical.
The NC State has that too. They went to three straight Sweet 16s and they didn't want that on their ring because they don't want that. They don't want that to be their legacy. They want to get it forward.
I'm going Indiana. I know we have to make an agreement. I know we have to, but I just think the mental makeup too, and not shading NC State on that. No. And maybe I've just seen, and I've seen NC State play, so it's not like I haven't.
No, it's definitely, that's factoring in for me too, because recency bias. Like I just saw NC State play.
Right.
I broke down a lot of their tape. So
yeah, I saw them in the tournament in particular, and I several games ahead of that too, a whole games. Oh man, and I gotta stick with Indiana.
Let's stick with Indiana. Indiana's already in my Final Four. Let's do it. That's fun. That is more fun. Indiana
I was trying to walk myself away from it.
How could we have a bracket and not have a Big Ten team on there? After all of that we have talked about this conference, we need a Big Ten team to make it. And we didn't put Maryland. That was such non-homerism for us. We didn't even put Miami. We didn't put Miami. Well. So we're being objective. I just think that Indiana's
really hard. Yeah.
I think they're so talented.
They're so tough.
They're really
good.
The
toughest. And NC State is tough too. So I believe it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a 1 possession game, or a 1 point game. I think it's going to be very, very tough.
If that one happens, that's going to be probably the best matchup once one that we're going to see. I think those teams match up the best. All right, let's get to our Final Four picks. We don't have to spend as much time here because it's just so speculative. We don't know who's going to be here. It's South Carolina, Louisville on one side. I'm going South Carolina. No offense.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Same.
They're the best team. They've been the best team. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it. They just have the it factor.
All right. On the other side, we have Stanford, Indiana. This is an awesome matchup. Again, I just think Indiana's top 5 can match up with anyone in the country. I think they're extremely disciplined. All of the things we said about Stanford still apply. Get them to foul trouble or get them on the free throw line. And Indiana has a good advantage there. I'm still going to go Stanford, though. I just think the way they play basketball is beautiful and extremely difficult to guard, even if you have a week to prepare for it.
I'm going Stanford as well. I just think their consistency factor, again, comes through for me. I think they just play the right way on every play. And not that Indiana doesn't, but I think it's on every play. I think at this point of the season, when you're in the Final Four or the Final Two or whatever, it comes down to who's going to make the least amount of mistakes.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that's Stanford. And that's why I'm going with them.
They played earlier this year. That was a 3-point game. Ooh, I get to watch tape of that game. Ooh, that'd be fun. And also, I just thought they don't have Indiana as good as Mackenzie Holmes is. She doesn't have an answer for Cameron Brink. So if Cameron Brink can stay on the floor in that one, they're moving on. Okay, so that we have our national championship, and it's a rematch of last year's Final Four barn burner between South Carolina and Stanford. It is wonderful. Aaron Barzilai brought this up on our Eye on College Basketball podcast that, this is the rivalry that I think a lot of fans want to see develop more and kind of knock out, break UConn's hold over this sport and create a new rivalry that we can ride with for the next few years. So you got South Carolina, Stanford in the national championship. I'm going to be honest, straight up. I think Stanford wins this game. I think Stanford, because they got so close. They got so close to being South Carolina in South Carolina in a real home game.
Yeah.
I think they're really difficult to stop. As I've mentioned before, many, many times, I think they're just ready for that challenge. I think I think Haley Jones is going to be very difficult for South Carolina to stop. And especially on a quick turnaround. It's another thing here that we have to remember, because you're not going to be looking ahead to the national championship when you're preparing for the Final Four.
Right.
I think Stanford gets them. And also, this is another value pick. If you want to be, super nerd about it, this is a great value pick because, as we all know, the national champion pick counts the most out of all of the picks you're going to make. And the vast majority of people will be picking South Carolina because they've looked like the best team in the country all year. And I think it's closer. I think it's closer than people will expect. So I would go with Stanford just as a value pick to see if you can get those points over other people in the Final Four. But that's not what we're doing in this podcast. I just wanted to mention it as a value play. But what's your analysis here, South Carolina, Stanford, as we sit here, 4 weeks before this potentially happens?
Honestly, 4 weeks ahead. I feel you. I just think in my mind, when you said matchup, a rematch between South Carolina and Stanford, the picture that came in my head. Yeah. Aaliyah Boston's face when she missed that putback to advance them to the championship game last year. Dude, I can't get that out of my mind, number one. And number two, she's not going to let that happen again. I think she's going to have...
It's fair. I think it's a fair point.
She's going to have like a 50-piece or something like that. Like, she's just going to be unleashed. I don't know, man. I just think that counts for something. When you lose the year before and you have the opportunity, not only to be in that pretty much same position, but to be playing the same team that you lost to with basically the same players on the court, man, I'm going South Carolina.
All right. Let's go South Carolina. We're going South Carolina.
I'm going South Carolina just because of that face. Like, I can't unpaint that picture in my mind of Aaliyah Boston coming up short, man.
And she's treated that like all of us have treated a bad breakup in the past. Like, she overhauled her body, got herself in more shape. She's been breathing fire all year long. And she's been telling everyone that she's like cool, but like deep down, we know that she's been dying, chomping at the bit to play Stanford.
She wants to run it back, honey. She wants, and all of them do, but especially her. And when you have your key cog feeling that way, it trickles down. Dawn's going to have them ready, for a repeat. I just can't count them out. So I can't walk. I'm definitely not. Other things I've been able to walk myself away from. I'm not walking myself away from that. I just think it's going to be too much mental toughness from South Carolina on that game, and the emotion of the redo or rematch. I think that's going to carry them over, and it will be close. It's not going to be some blowout situation. I think it'll be within 10 points or less.
All right.
5 points or less.
So we actually do have to do a final score prediction. What I have is just like generic 74-68.
Oh my God, I had 70-69 South Carolina. Well, I did 1 point. I gave a 10-point grace, 10-point grace, but I did on my bracket online this morning, actually, I said 70-69 South Carolina over Stanford.
All right. I think this is good. I think it's gonna be better than my bracket was last year when I was in the 22nd percentile. Or no, yeah. That's what it was. I was in 22nd percentile.
I didn't even know what I was. So I'm sure
it was real bad last year. I think I know. I really worked hard to not do that this year.
Good.
That being said, we'll see what happens, because there's often times where you should not listen to me. Picking brackets, I get a little ahead of myself. Okay, so we picked the entire bracket. It only took us 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh my God, it took us 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah. I actually need to get lunch. We got so into it that I forgot to eat.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, let's so I think that's it. We'll talk about the all American teams later.
Yeah, I saw that.
Maybe we could do that in person. Our first in-person Courtside podcast.
I know. I can't wait.
Maybe we can do that when we are in College Park. We will be there from Thursday until Sunday, literally all day. I think we're there all day, right?
Yeah, all day Thursday for the practices, press conferences. I can't wait for that. Just to get to hear from the coaches and the players. That's always fun.
I'm super excited. But yeah, that being said, we do need to move, because now I got hungry now that we're ending this podcast. So.
No, I'm starving now.
Christy, wrap us up. Get us out of here.
Yeah, let's send us out of here. Hey, we don't have to go home, but we need to get some lunch and we got to get out of here. But listen, oh my goodness, we're going to be courtside all NCAA tournament long for you right here on Courtside with Christy and Gabe on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. For Gabe Ibrahim, I am Christy Winter Scott. We will see you next time.